What is happening, gym owners? So, this is just going to be a bit of a discussion talking about different types of leads and how to approach them. And so the reason I'm making this video is because I run into small business owners who some understand the process of marketing and generating leads, and others, to be honest, have absolutely no idea and are brand new to this. So this is the video that's going to go over as much as I can while I'm driving. And this drive is going to be about 45 minutes. So I thought about, you know what? If you are brand new to this, this is for you. If you've never done digital marketing before, this is for you. If you're looking to grow your business and you want to do digital marketing for your small business, this is for you. So let's talk about a lead. Or really about an engaged lead. So a lead is someone who has expressed interest in your business, right? And so if you're a small business, you probably understand what a referral is. A referral is what we would call a warm lead. A warm lead is a person who expressed interest because of a result of someone else. And so imagine I'm the referral. I'm like, hey, one of my neighbors is Bob. I see he has a work truck in front of his garage, and the work truck is from ABC HVAC, ABC carpet cleaning, ABC deck building, ABC, kitchen renovations, whatever the business is, right? So they're there for maybe a week or two, or maybe a couple days, whatever the job is. And I go to Bob, I'm like, oh, hey, so I saw, ABC Business was over. Like, what did they do? Oh man, they put in a brand new kitchen, or we needed a new AC unit because whatever it is. You're like, oh man, you know what? I'm actually having one of the same problems, but my problem is a little different. Whatever. It's like, oh, how were they? How much did they cost? And so this person, me, I'm doing my due diligence. I'm asking, I'm wondering, I'm getting the cost. I'm like, okay. As soon as I do a little bit of homework, and I'm telling my neighbor, and I'm asking, you as a business already know that this is the type of person you want because they're pre-qualified, your neighbors, so maybe the income levels are similar, maybe the interest is there, and then the neighbor, Bob, gives me the business's number, and I reach out, bang. And I would say that doesn't require much salesmanship. That just requires someone to take an order. So you take in an order, you book the appointment in, and boom, they show up, they pay you. Yay, I'm like, great. That's great. And that is one type of lead. So these are people who are ready to buy, who are already interested. They probably discussed a little bit about the service to their friend, coworker, neighbor, whatever the case is, right? Now, that is one type of lead, and how you would approach that is absolutely not the same of how you would approach a cold lead. A cold lead would mean there is very little of a relationship that's built. There's very little trust. There's very little likability. They may or may not even know who you are to a certain degree. And so with digital marketing, whether that's Google or whether that's Facebook, a lot of times these leads don't know who you are. And it depends on the lead's level of interest. So let's speak specifically on Facebook and Instagram, because for small businesses, Facebook and Instagram can be an absolute game changer if you put two things together well. What is this dude doing? He crossed the road, didn't even look at me. Freaking Dumbo. Two things together, right? Which means you need a marketing system that brings leads in consistently, and you need to follow up with your leads consistently. And so and then you need to obviously have someone who's going to be manning this project, overseeing, managing it, who also understands what it takes in order to get a sale. So let's first talk about marketing. So marketing, follow up, and then sales. So marketing. We need to put adverts and advertisements and specific offers in front of the right audience at the right time. So here's an example. One of my current clients is HVAC, and he said, during the springtime is when people start thinking about their HVAC systems, because as summer approaches, and let's say your system is trying to cool the house, but it's not really cooling as well, or something called, like split rooms, where certain rooms aren't getting as cool as they need to be, or certain rooms aren't getting to the most comfortable temperature, whether that's heating or cooling, whatever it is. There's certainly seasonalities of it. So within advertising, you could play off certain seasons if you know certain seasons call for certain things. Now, second thing you can think about when it comes to advertising is the right type of person. So if you're an HVAC company, one of the big differences is like homeowner. Are you the homeowner or not? Do you live in an apartment? You probably don't care about an HVAC system if you're a homeowner. But if you're the landlord and you have an HVAC system, maybe you care about that. So these are different things you can think about when you're targeting with advertising. And one of the key biggest things with HVAC is they need financing. So if you might say, zero money down. But obviously with Facebook, you want to be mindful that you can't really say anything in your advert in terms of the words, which is ad copy, with interest or getting a loan or anything like that. But that's one thing. And let's say you're a dentist and you put together a low barrier offer. Low barrier offer is like, get a cleaning normally $150 for $47, something like that. So you're decreasing price on the front end to hopefully make more money on the back end. But when it comes to marketing, what we need to know is we need to be putting offers in front of the right people at the right time and the right offer. Okay? So that's marketing. Now, when it comes to follow-up, so here's an example. Let's say, for instance, within 30 days, you get 50 leads. Now, not all of these leads is going to turn into 100% customers. Month one, though. But that doesn't mean by month 2 and month 3, by month 1 leads could potentially be customers by month 2. But most businesses lack a system for consistent and long-term follow-up. So here's the thing. Let's say you're in fitness and someone wants to lose weight, but they are going on vacation and, traveling the world for 3 months. How are you going to know that unless you speak to them, talk to them, and understand the timing of things? And second thing is, one of the things I notice in follow-up is most of the time, a lot of businesses, not all, most of the time, some businesses don't understand the nature of follow-up. Meaning the level of follow-up required in order to just get someone to pick up the phone, have a conversation, is honestly, you should never stop following up with your leads. You should never stop. So if at any point you stop, you're not following up enough. I'll give you an example. In my business, we're in digital marketing. We originally reached out to 2 gyms where it took them nearly 10 months to agree to become a customer. And it took us multiple times. It took us multiple avenues and mediums. So from DMs to content to emails to phone calls. And the funny thing is, if I stopped following up, if my company stopped following up with these leads, these people would never continue with us, and we wouldn't be growing and be getting customers. And so this goes true with any business. If you have someone who literally just gives you their name and the email and their phone number, and you only follow up a handful of times, you are leaving so much money on the table. And second thing, if they even fill out something like let's say in fitness, what is your fitness goal? Oh, I want to lose weight. Let's say in HVAC systems, you might say, oh, are you looking to repair or replace your system? They go, oh, my system is 25 years old. I'm starting to notice that there's certain spots in my house that aren't getting cool. You're like, hey, there's a problem. But if you do not get on the phone with this person, if you're like, oh, I've called 7 times, I didn't get on the phone, I'm like, guess what? Someone else is going to find them. Someone else is going to call them. They're going to have a conversation, and they're going to get the sale. That's the reality of it. And if you aren't aggressive enough, if you aren't on top of all your leads, you are simply not going to turn these people who are showing interest, who are giving you their information, who are giving you their contact information, and the amount of follow-up is so shallow that it's not turning into the outcome that you want, then it's just your effort. And here's another way to think about it. And this is something that I've learned in fitness. This is something else I've learned in business and marketing, is you have to test. So here's an example of a test you can run to double check the outcome. You're like, okay, let me run a test. If I'm only calling leads 1 to 2 times, what if I double it and I call all my leads 2 to 4 times? And I double that, call all my leads 2 to 8 times, or 4 to 8 times, and I double that, 8 to 16 times. At what point am I gonna start noticing an increase of at least 10 to 20% of the actions and the outcomes I'm looking for? So here's an example. Let's say lead to pickup. Let's say I only call leads once. And if I only call leads once and I get a certain amount of pickups, and let's say I get 20 leads, I call each one once, how many pickups do I get? As in, how many people do I actually get on the phone? Number 2 is, if I go from 1 call to 2 calls per lead, how many pickups do I get? If I go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, so on and so forth. So you can literally measure the amount of people who pick up the phone by how much input you do. And the funny thing is, I'm not saying this just for you to test. MIT actually ran this exact study with hundreds of businesses. And what they found was most businesses contact leads 1 to 3 times. Whereas the ones who are way more successful in actually having a conversation, contact leads at least 6 times or more. Think about that. If you get 10 leads a week, that's 60 dials. Sorry, 6 times 6 is 36. That's 36 dials, right? 60 leads. Oh, sorry. If you get 10 leads, 6 dials, that's 60 dials. If you get 20 leads, that's 120 dials. Like, that's absolutely insane. In terms of most people, honestly, most business owners don't realize the level of follow-up that's required to get a pickup. Don't understand the amount of conversations you need in order to book an appointment, and don't understand how many appointments you need in order to get a sale. And so if you are getting leads but aren't getting pickups, number 1, your outreach is not enough. And if you aren't getting booked appointments, that means the quality of the conversation you're having is too shallow. It's not meaningful, and you're not digging into the pain. Even from HVAC to fitness to dentist, like, you need to understand, like, what is this? Why is this person on the phone with me? Like, what is the real issue? What is the problem here? And if you are getting people to show up but not closing, that means your salesmanship is poor, and you need to do more role plays, you need to do more reviews, you need to practice objections, and then guess what? You will start closing more deals, 100%. But if you do not call your leads enough, and if you don't have this type of mentality where you're like, I'm willing to see what works, I'm willing to put in extra effort just to see at what point do the bottlenecks start to become like less of an issue. Meaning, leads to pickups, pickups to appointments, appointments to sales. Shows, appointments and shows and sales, right? So if you think of it in that manner, then guess what? It's gonna be an absolute game changer in terms of how you turn leads, cold leads from paid advertising, into sales. So here's a little bit more of the process, right? So let's say, for instance, a lead comes in, you should double dial. Dial as soon as they come in, within 5 to 10 minutes. Dial within the hour, dial within the day, right? I have another gym, they actually call 3 times a day, every single lead, and just hit the phone. And they have 2 callers. And if you look at their system, they call probably 300 to 400 dials every single week. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane. But dude's killing it. Dude's absolutely 100% murdering his sales. And it's funny because out of all the clients I work with, he's the one who kind of understands that with leads, you need to hit the phones hard, man. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So that's marketing. And then now that was lead nurture. And another thing when it comes to lead nurture, I'll touch on this, then I'll get into sales, is they need to get a text, they need to get an email, they need to get a phone call, and within the first week, they should be getting hit up a lot. But other than that, long-term, leads should be turned into some type of long-term lead nurture. Because imagine if you pay money into getting leads, there's this triangle, right, where not everyone is like gonna buy. Where, let's say, for example, if you get 100 leads, 3 to 5% of the leads are ready to buy now. 17 to 20% aren't ready, but they will be ready soon. 30% are at a stage where they're like, oh, I'm not ready. And the rest, which is maybe 40 to 50% of the leads, aren't going to buy in the long term. They require a lot more time. And so most businesses are fighting for the same 3 to 5%. However, that means there's 95% of the leads who aren't ready to buy now that will absolutely require long-term follow-up. So if you're paying money into advertising, if you're paying money into leads, and if you have this list of leads of previously, like as an example, when I had my gym, we had about 3,500 people on our lead list. And anytime I'd send a couple emails, I would get booked appointments, because I'm like, I knew a couple things. One, if I just wrote email a week, my list is going to be warmed up to me, and whenever they see that email and they know it's me. Second thing is, I'm educating, I'm inspiring, I'm talking about paradigm shifts of like, how I see people change when it comes to health and fitness. And then once a month, I'm making an offer. I'm like, hey, we have an intro, we have this offer, we have that offer, we have this offer. And I'd get a handful of people to take that on me every single freaking month, man. It was absolutely amazing. The other side of this, really, which just means if you have leads that don't close within the first week or two, you need to have a system that follows up with them long term, like a weekly email. And then let's say quarterly you send a text and you're like, hey, are you still interested in ABC? Are you still looking to repair your HVAC system, like repair or replace your HVAC system, your heating and cooling system, whatever the case is, right? Or are you still interested in losing weight? Or are you still looking to improve your smile for dentists? Or let's say you're in the pain market, which is like chiros, physical therapists, physio, stuff like that. You might say, hey, are you still experiencing any pain in your body, hips, knees, or shoulders? Which is like really all of the big joints. Hips is like low back. Shoulders is a big global one, because that's where your arms and knees, hips, knees, and shoulders are always going to be the big ones. I was in the pain market, so. And when it comes to follow-up, there's different ways you can categorize it. There's short-term, there's long-term, there's different channels. So you definitely got to understand that the way you talk to people on the phone is not the same type of conversation you're talking through text. It's not the same type of conversation you're messaging people or emailing people, right? So emails are going to be different than texts. Texts are going to be different from calls. And one mistake I saw a gym owner make is assuming that people talk the same through all. So here's an example. If I'm on the phone with you, I can ask you closed-ended questions. I can ask you open-ended questions. I can hear you. I could slow down. I could speed up and be like, oh my gosh. Or I could be like, can I share with you something that I think is going to be really, and so I could slow down. I could whisper. And so tonality is going to be a huge tool in your belt when you're talking to someone on the phone, right? Whereas in text, there's no tone, and it should really be used for quick burst, like short form communication. So closed-ended questions are really well. Open-ended questions don't really work the greatest. You typically want to ask more open-ended questions on the phone, because you can hear someone's response, you can hear how they answer, all that sort of stuff. And with email you can include media, you can include files, you can include PDFs, so it's a bit more of it's like texting, but you can include more stuff, you can do a lot more storytelling, and someone can read it on their free time, and it's something that can be automated, which is amazing. So it kind of takes the human touch out of it, and I think most people are smart enough to know when stuff is going to be automated, but if they see something that they know is from a specific business, like health and fitness, or HVAC, or dentist, or MMA, or jiu-jitsu, or physical therapy, or pain, or whatever it is, they know who it is. Once you start emailing them, you've built a relationship with your list, they will begin to trust you. Now, third is most businesses think that their sales process is like fine-tuned and they don't need to improve. Now, I would probably argue that most small businesses aren't marketing and getting more leads than they can handle, which means they are growing, or at least sustaining, mostly through referrals. And these referrals aren't really growing their business, it's really just sustaining them where they are. And if you really want to increase, you need to market your business with digital marketing. You need to have a follow-up system, because obviously leads are going to fall through the cracks. And if they fall through the cracks, that means you're missing out on the potential income of that. And third is sales, meaning you need a choreographed process to turn more customers into closed business. And so it's interesting because I have a client in HVAC. I have a client in, most of my clients are in gyms and one in MMA. And the ones who have a well choreographed sales process have no problem with more leads. The ones who are well into this process and understand marketing, understand follow-ups, they typically will close more business. However, the ones who don't have a sales process, the ones who aren't open for coaching, and the ones who don't understand a lot of this, typically do quite poorly when I call it like a stress test. Imagine however many leads you get, whether that's 5 a month, whether that's 20 a month, whatever it is, if we just like 10x'd all the leads into your business, your business would break because you do not have the capacity to handle all of the incoming leads that are coming to your business. What does that actually mean? That means you're going to miss out on opportunities. You're not going to make as much money as you think as someone else. Let's say you had 2 businesses, right? A and B. A has a salesman. They're experienced. They are very proactive with their leads. They follow up with their leads. They have long-term follow-up. And if you shoved a bunch of leads in their business, they're going to be on the phones. They're going to be booking appointments. They're going to be on it. But if a business does not have that person and we shove 10x the leads that they're accustomed to, they're going to crumble. They're going to struggle, because if you've never had this before, it's a lot to take on. It's a lot to grasp. It's a lot to become adjusted to, and that's understandable, and that's totally fine. But this is where a lot of this requires practice. This requires a lot more effort, because you're kind of bumbling your way through. You don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to text. You don't know how to call. You don't understand the levels of input. And so you might think, oh, these leads are bad. Oh, the marketing sucks. Or, oh, my city's different. And I'm like, honestly, from what I've seen, as soon as a business starts blaming others, that tells me they do not have the personal awareness and the wherewithal to take personal responsibility and think, okay, I need to fucking step up, dude. I need to step up my shit. I need to call more. I need to book more. I need to close. I need to increase with the business's increase, because at the end of the day, I am the bottleneck. I am the problem. My business is the problem, whether that's my team that I hired and I didn't train, or whether that's me if I'm the main salesman. I am the fucking problem. And if you don't realize that, then guess what? That's one of the biggest things that's going to hold you back is, guess what? You are the problem. Because if you shoved a bunch of leads and you can't convert these leads, and you would say, oh, it's not them, it's bad. Bruh, it's you, bro. It's interesting, because if you sat in the shoes of marketers who do this for small businesses, we all experience businesses that don't call their leads, who think the leads are bad, and expect the lead to open their wallets and just give them money without actually putting in a little effort. And it's unfortunate that these things tend to impact the businesses negatively, and then they think this doesn't work. They think I've been scammed. They think marketing isn't for me. They think I've tried this before, it doesn't work. But the reality is if you are getting leads for your business with a specific offer that's normal for your industry, and you aren't closing those deals 99% of the time, it's the 2 things after marketing. It's the follow-up and lead nurture, and it's the salesman who's unfortunately failing. And if you have someone in your business that isn't a salesperson, they aren't aggressive, they aren't calling, they aren't trying to close deals and make more money, you have now put someone in a sales position that does not deserve to be in a sales position, because that's just not how they are. Maybe you put an admin in that and assuming that they're going to be aggressive. Maybe you're assuming they're going to have the right type of conversations. But if you got 50 leads, you haven't converted one, man, your sales process is terrible. I'm just going to be straight up. Like, that's on you. Because if you're the business owner, you put the sales process in place, and if we just shoved a bunch of leads in your business you didn't convert, that means your sales process is inadequate for the marketing. It does not meet the standards and is not at the level that is needed to turn all these people who are giving you their personal contact details into business. And it's funny because I've run into several businesses where we're getting them leads, we're getting them interest, and they call leads once or twice and they're like, hey, you know what, Brandon, I don't think this is going to work for us. And I'm like, okay, let me ask you a question. How many times are you calling a lead? They're like, oh, you know what, man, we call them a lot. I'm like, okay. When they think, let's say you have 10 leads, they call each one once, they're like, man, we're calling them a lot. We call like 10 times. I'm like, you call each lead 10 times, or you called each lead once and there was 10 leads, so that means 10 times. They're like, that one. And I go, and unfortunately, they have convinced themselves that their level of effort is what is required to see the next bottleneck metrics improve, but they have yet to realize that the level of effort required is actually 10x. So most people underestimate the level of effort required to get that next action, which is like, okay, I need to call. Then I get someone to pick up, and then you get someone to pick up. How many pickups or how many conversations are you having till you get a booked appointment? And then how many booked appointments do you have to get someone to show? And how many people who show till you get a close? And so this is something that most people honestly mess up on because they literally underestimate the amount of effort it takes to turn cold leads into booked appointments and sales. I'm telling you this because I grew my gym through this exact process. I'm growing other gyms and other businesses through this exact process. And if we cannot convert sales, that means your sales process does not meet what is required if we just dumped a bunch of leads in your business. And that also means you've designed a business that cannot scale. And that's the reality. If that's how you see it, they're like, well, what the marketing? Oh, I'm like, bro, you got 100 leads. They give you their personal information. You call them twice, and you're expecting them to just lay down and give you $10,000. And it's also very frustrating because when I look at this, we literally are working with businesses who are turning a lot of these leads into money, and then we work with similar businesses, and they just can't convert. And someone might ask me, like, Brandon, what's the problem? Like, it's the business. They are not set up to scale. So something is the bottleneck. And until they realize this, until they open up and really think about what it is that's going on, they don't actually realize that the bottleneck is the design of the business. And if the business owner is like, I can do it all, that's the bottleneck right there. Your belief that you could do everything is literally the thing that's stopping you from probably doubling or tripling your business. That's like saying, I could be the janitor, I could be the salesman, I could be the marketer, and I could be the one delivering the service all at the same time. And I could do it the same as a business that has a team of 20 people, 4 locations. I can do the same thing as them. It's stupid. It's literally dumb. Like, it makes no sense to be able to think that. But something is like, most businesses don't realize that giving up control is how you grow. Growing a team is how you get bigger. And that also puts the pressure on you, but it also allows more specialization. As an example, if I'm a single man business owner and I'm doing everything, you are absolutely not going to be as good against, let's say you're a jack of all trades versus someone who's like, I do one thing and I do one thing alone. I sell. That's it. For 40 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, every single month, all I do is sell. I don't do anything else. How good do you think he's going to do versus a business owner that does everything in the business? Second thing, if you don't have to worry about a specific aspect of the business, like sales or even service fulfillment, whether that's installing HVAC systems, repairing HVAC systems, tuning them up, or even training and exercise, your training, if you don't have to worry about certain aspects of a business, one thing to really think about is how good are these people going to actually be at their specific role? They're going to get their reps in, they're going to get their reps up, and they are going to understand nuances in what they do. Just because naturally, the more you do something, the better you're going to get. And so if you think you're going to do as well as someone who can do it full time, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours, versus you doing it part time for 1 to 2 hours a day, you are absolutely joking. So anyways, that's enough of my rant. Again, if you are starting off on your digital marketing journey, understand there are really 3 big aspects of turning cold leads, which are online marketing leads, into closed business, which is you need a marketing system that's going to give you leads on a consistent basis, which is what we do. Second thing is you need a system to be able to turn those leads into conversations, regardless of the business you have. So whether that's a salesperson or whether that's you. You also need a bit of tech setup so that you have some automations and follow-ups and emails that are specifically choreographed for your design market, which in reality, it's just people in general who need consistent follow-up. And third, you need a well-designed, choreographed sales process that turns these people into butts in seats, into installs, into people in the gym, into sales. And so these are the main things I think about when it comes to turning interest into money. Other than that, hopefully you enjoyed my rant while I'm on my little drive in my Tesla on a Friday evening. Peace.